Hey friends, I'm Tony Powers, instructor at the Pathfinder School, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a Paiute deadfall trap trigger. In my last video we talked about the figure 4 deadfall. I talked about what I liked about it, and that's easy to carve, easy to set up, doesn't require cordage. But there is one thing I forgot to mention. There is a con to the figure 4 deadfall, and that is you really have to carve that bait stick and that post stick just right and put them together just right for them to become a hair trigger. Sometimes with a figure 4 it really takes a lot of pressure to actually trip that trigger, and we don't want that. We want it to be where as soon as that animal breathes on that bait, it sets the trap. And the Paiute deadfall is great for that, but it's the opposite. It requires cordage and it's real finicky. Sometimes it can take a while to set these traps up, but once they're set and set right, as soon as that animal touches this stick, they're going to be trapped. So let's go ahead, I'll show you how to carve it real quick. We'll set it up, maybe not so real quick on that end, but we'll mess with it and I'll show you the adjustments you need to make to get it just right. We'll set it and that'll be it. Let's get started. Okay, so just like the figure 4, we're gonna have 2 sticks that are roughly hang 10 in length, and we're gonna have a smaller bait stick that's approximately twice the length of that, okay? So that's similar to the figure 4 in that way. Now we have here, I believe this is either number 6 or number 8 bank line. If you want to make this more primitive, you can actually make your own reverse wrap cordage. I'm not going to do that right now just for time's sake, but this bank line is really good for that. You don't need a real heavy line for this trap. So let's go ahead and get this carved out. It is pretty much the exact same as the figure 4, where we're going to take our post stick and we're just going to come down here and make a sharp edge here. Not real sharp. Actually, let's go ahead and flatten that out. If you make this too sharp, it could collapse with the weight from the deadfall. So just a little flat part up top there. Okay, we'll come back to that later. And on this one, same deal as with the figure 4. We're going to do a stop cut here. We're going to come down about 1 inch, do a stop cut, come through here, and we're going to carve out a 7 notch, just like that. And then on the opposite side of the 7 notch, come down here and just flatten this out. That way the rock has something nice and flat to sit on. Flatten this area out right here. And you can see, just like in the last video, the 7 notch sits right up here and the deadfall will rest on top of here. Okay, now that that's done, one thing we want to do is come over here and on the same angle, or excuse me, on the same side as this little 45 right here, we want to come down here and just carve a V notch. And all we got to do, just come down here and go back and forth. Just be very careful here, don't cut yourself. Ask me how I know. You can look at my thumb right there and see that I got a little careless during the primitive trapping class. So once again, we have our 7, we have an angle right here, and we have a V notch. There is one more component that we are going to need for this trap. I forgot all about it, and all we're going to need is just a small stick, a couple inches long, and we want to flatten it out on each side. Let's clean this up, make it look real pretty. It's not necessary. And then we want to come and offset it on one side and put just a little tiny V notch right here. Okay, so we'll put a V notch in here. And this may not even be necessary. You can probably just tie the cordage around here, but I like to have something for that cordage to set in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is attach our line to the V notch right here. And you can use a clove hitch, you can use whatever you want. Right here I'm just using an arbor knot. It really cinches down. It's almost like a zip tie. So we just keep, like I said, every time you do something, just put this together, see how it's going to look. This is going to come down here. I have seen Paiutes to where the stick is parallel with the ground. I like them to be at a slight angle, okay? So it's going to end up looking like this. So I'm going to gauge about right here is where I want it. I'm going to pinch it and I'm going to make another arbor knot here. Okay, so we have our other arbor knot here, and we're just going to place it over that V-notch on this small stick, and we'll just cinch that down. So once again, line everything up. We have our post stick here. We have our angle. And as you can see that this is a little bit longer than I wanted. All we need to do in that case is just put a half hitch right over top this and cinch it down. So we put a half hitch here to shorten up the line. One thing you're going to learn is that these traps are all about micro adjustments. So if your line's a little bit too long, just put that half hitch in there and it'll shorten it up. So we'll take this around like that, and that looks about right to me. So let's go ahead and set this up, and I'll show you how to apply the bait stick. Okay, so just like with any other trap, we're going to get something solid, rock, piece of bark, something like that, place on the ground for our post stick. That way it doesn't get shoved down into the ground. We're going to take our upright here, place it on top of that solid object, put that trap just on the edge of your trigger here, and then we're going to wrap our Paiute around that post stick. I'll get a close-up of this here in just a second. Now we take our bait stick, and I can already tell that I'm going to have to trim this off probably about right here. So we'll do that real quick. Another bad thing about these Paiutes is you really need the right type of deadfall. It has to have the right surface to where as the smaller stick behind the post is pressing, it actually goes against the rough part of your deadfall and locks in place. So what I might do is just kind of rough this up just a little bit. Put a couple of angles on there to where it'll catch. Same with this side. And we're going to see if this will work. Once again, it's all about micro adjustments. Place this back on there. Put it back on the edge. Wrap the stick that has a line attached to it around the back of the post. And you sometimes really got to get down in there with this. Let's turn it back this way. Wow, hold on. I'm not really liking this angle here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this. Even though I had it set up, I just want it turned. I want to make sure this thing is completely upright and not twisting at all. I had it set up, but I think over time it probably would have fell. So that's a little better. And here is the beauty. Let me grab a stick here of the Paiute. It doesn't take anything to set that off. I barely put any pressure on that. So once again, all of these trap triggers have their own pros and cons. Some take a little bit longer to set up, but they're a hair trigger, and it's vice versa. So let's just do this one more time. I just want to test it. Do it just a few times to make sure that it's going to do its job. Okay, so one thing I did was I flipped this rock over because the bottom is real slippery. The top is dry and it has a lot more ridges in it, and that's what we want. So we just flip that over. We're going to set this up again. Find the balance point here to where it's perfectly balanced. Let's try that. Take our stick, wrap it around the post stick. Grab our bait stick. Just kind of mess with it until it locks in place. There it is. Okay, and once again, we find a long stick here, that way I don't smash my hand. Where are you at? We'll just take this, and you barely touch it, and it's down. And all the components, with the exception of the bait stick that's really thin anyways, have thrown themselves out. All right, guys. Give that a try, see how you like it. There's going to be a lot more trapping content coming on my channel this winter. More primitive traps, there's going to be fish traps, modern trapping. I'm going to show you guys how to do a couple different basic sets for steel traps, mostly going after canines, coyotes and foxes. So that's going to be coming. Stay tuned for that. I'm also going to show you guys how to skin and process animals, and I may even throw some self-tanning videos in there as well. I like to brain tan and chemical tan sometimes my own furs. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys once again for watching. Be sure to check out all my links below and follow me on all my social media. Until next time, take care. See you on the next one.